They all think it's me. They think I did something to them. They think it's another scheme, some ruse, a game.
A big, twisted, fucked up game.
I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I ain't playing no more.
The bridge? Fireworks over the city? I know I've been here before. I just don't know why.
Sure, they want your skills, your expertise, but only on their terms. They don't care what else you have to offer, how different you could be, if only they noticed you.
A little over a month ago, I went to San Francisco on a family trip. One of our stops was Alcatraz, and I tried to take in as much of the moment as I could. But in the weeks leading up to the visit, there was only one thing on my mind: Mob of the Dead. If you ask most longtime Call of Duty fans what the best zombies map is, a good amount will say Mob of the Dead. It's usually not the younger audiences who jumped in during Cold War or Black Ops 6, but rather the players who grew up playing the older games. For me, zombies really starts with World at War and ends at Black Ops 3. Everything afterwards never felt the same. I still enjoy going back and playing these maps. Well, not those ones. But there's one map that feels different. One that makes me feel uneasy every time I load it up. Mob of the Dead was part of the Black Ops 2 Uprising DLC, released on April 16th, 2013, and it became an instant classic. It was also the first map led by Jason Blundell, the same man behind Origins, Shadows of Evil, Der Risendrache, and many other classic zombies maps that are still beloved to this day. Blundell's first outing with Mob of the Dead did exactly what it needed to. Now, the map that came before it was buried, and while it's aged quite gracefully over the years, back then it was pretty hated. Most of that hate came from the disappointment around Transit and Die Rise. While Jimmy Zielinski's maps had big ideas, the execution left people frustrated, and that frustration carried straight into Buried. But when Mob of the Dead dropped, it flat out saved zombies. Now, after visiting Alcatraz myself, I can say Treyarch recreated it with pinpoint accuracy. They'd planned to make the map larger, but due to hardware limitations, they were forced to keep it contained to a smaller size. Looking back, that decision was definitely the right one. The confined design gives the prison a sense of weight, where even the smallest spaces feel intentional, and the symbolism tied into it becomes impossible to ignore. I believe Mob of the Dead is the morally heaviest map of any zombies map, and the themes go beyond zombies itself. It's 4 inmates stuck in Purgatory, unable to escape as they're stuck in the same cycle over and over again. Inmates who have to live with the consequences of their actions, and are forced to pay for their sins. The story of Mob of the Dead follows the story of 4 inmates: Sal DeLuca, Finn O'Leary, Billy Handsome, and Albert the Weasel Arlington, who comes up with a desperate plan to escape Alcatraz by building a plane. When the plan collapses, the others turn on Weasel in rage, murdering him in cold blood before all 3 are captured and sent to the electric chair. Death doesn't free them. Instead, their souls are locked in another dimension, doomed to repeat the same failed escape endlessly while the prison is overrun with zombies. Each cycle ends with Arlington's murder, carried out again and again by the same men. Unless the cycle is broken, they remain trapped in Purgatory with no end in sight. As the loop goes on, Arlington starts to see the situation for what it is. His memories slowly return, and he realizes the others have been killing him in their desperate attempt to escape. That moment sets the stage for the canonical ending, where Weasel turns on the mobsters by killing all 3 of them, thus finally breaking the cycle. The Easter egg doesn't stop there though. Players can follow the most common path and kill Arlington once again, keeping the cycle going. Or they can flip the script and let him take his revenge, ending the cycle altogether. However, both outcomes lead to the same truth: the cycle can only end through death. The theme behind Mob of the Dead is brilliant. Speaking as someone who is religious myself, salvation is something almost everyone strives for. But in this story, it's unattainable. No matter what the inmates do, they will remain trapped, condemned to suffer and pay for their sins without end. That weight gives the map a ton of depth, and Blundell captured it perfectly. The intro cutscene to Mob of the Dead is my favorite in all of zombies. It starts off with the escape plan, taking out a guard and stealing the warden's keys, but then something unexpected happens. The guard comes back as a zombie, and the inmates don't even understand what they're seeing. They have no memory of the last cycle, so every time it happens, it feels new to them. You watch them all get killed off, which makes it clear the cycle isn't going anywhere. With Johnny Cash's Rusty Cage blasting in the background, it's the perfect way to set the tone, and it makes the cutscene unforgettable. When the map begins, you have nothing. You're not even in your own body. Mob of the Dead puts you into afterlife mode, where you wander as a soul, shocking boxes and charging power into machines and doors just to progress. The mechanic works for gameplay, but the symbolism goes even deeper. You're not alive anymore. What moves through Alcatraz is only the soul that was left behind, tied to the cycle it can't escape. It's also important to note that the map begins in Cell Block D, the part of Alcatraz used for solitary confinement. This was where the worst inmates were sent, the ones considered too dangerous to mix with the rest. I didn't even realize this detail until I visited the island myself, but it fits perfect. The characters in Mob of the Dead aren't petty criminals who are in there for something like tax fraud. They're murderers, men who lived outside the rules. Even the environment reflects that. If you turn to the wall behind you in the starting room, there's a map of the prison with the locations of the plane parts. On the surface, it's there to guide the player, but it feels deliberate, as if some unseen force wants these inmates to follow the plan. You're able to see these maps all over the place, guiding you to the next step, and every time they follow these instructions, the cycle continues. As you move deeper into the map, the environment makes it feel like you've stepped straight into hell. There are bodies hanging with blood dripping from them, bathtubs filled with blood, as well as walls covered in messages written in it. The first time I played, 9-year-old me was left horrified. It was one of the scariest experiences I'd ever have in a video game. The letter and number inscriptions scrawled across the walls don't seem to form anything clear, but the way they're arranged gives off a very ritualistic vibe. It feels intentional, like there's some hidden purpose behind them. Maybe it's a secret message Blundell left that no one's cracked like in Dreisendrach, or maybe it's just there to leave you uneasy. Either way, the moment you see this, you feel something's not right. The blood messages on the walls all say different things, but they all circle back to the same theme, that none of the inmates are ever getting out. Some are just arrows that point you toward other parts of the map, but others feel darker, almost mocking. In the laundry room, there's one that reads, "Laundering machine for your past sins cannot wash clean," basically saying it's too late for salvation. In the Citadel tunnels, right above a shock box, another says, "A soul can see the numbers," which ties to how you can only see the code while in afterlife, when you're in control of your soul. And above the electric chairs is the most direct message of them all. No one escapes alive, which leaves no doubt the only end to the story is death, and there's no way out of it. The map's wonder weapon, the Blundergat, reflects the same themes running throughout. Once it's upgraded, the gun's name becomes the Vitriolic Withering. The word vitriolic can be attributed to the hatred and bitterness driving the inmates, and withering points to deterioration, stripping something down until nothing is left. That name is a clear mirror of the story. These inmates are trapped in malice, turning on each other again and again, and every cycle leaves them more broken than before. Even the weapon you hold is tied to that type of decay, reminding you that even with your super powerful upgraded Blundergat, it doesn't mean freedom. The gun may feel strong in your hands, but the name of it tells you the truth. The cycle is acidic, much like the gun itself. It will keep wearing them down until there's nothing left but ruin. When you finally reach the rooftop and build the plane, it feels like escape is right there, right in front of you. You take off into the sky, but then it all comes crashing down at the bridge. You survive, but instead of freedom, you're stranded where the Pack-a-Punch sits, staring at the truth, now standing in Purgatory. There is no way out. The characters begin to realize it themselves, with their voices weighed down in hopelessness. Some of their lines capture it perfectly. I'll play a few here.
I can't change what I've done, so you might as well just end this. Kill me. Kill me right here, right now. I'm not afraid to die. Either wake me up or just fucking kill me already.
What did I do wrong? How do I put things right?
Sal, Handsome, Finn, they're all stone cold killers. Those bastards are evil to the core. So why me? Why am I here? Why, damn it?
By this point, the characters have given up completely. Their lines show it. They question why they have to suffer like this and beg for it to finally end. But the cycle doesn't let them. They're forced to live through the same fate over and over again. The only way off the bridge is to sit in the electric chair, the same execution the 3 inmates were given in the story. Once you do, you're sent right back to spawn, dropped into afterlife mode, and made to revive yourself exactly like you did at the very start. It's the game's way of showing you that nothing has changed or ever will change. You're stuck in the loop. Everything in Mob of the Dead points to one single truth, that justice takes the form of repetition. You can see this truth all throughout the map. The plan is carried out. The plane is built, the escape attempt ends in failure, and the inmates are dragged back to where it all began. The cycle erases any sense of progress. Death constantly feeds back into it, locking them in torment without any chance of liberation. Justice in this case is the endless return, suffering the same fate over and over again with no closure and no peace. The purgatory they're trapped in never lets them leave. Each run creates the illusion of progress. You gather the plane parts and take off the roof, and for a moment it feels like escape is possible. You think that you're actually going to make it out, but it always ends the same, with the cycle pulling you back to where you began. Justice takes its shape through repetition, but the real punishment lies in the false hope that's given. Every failed attempt dangles the promise of freedom, only to crush it. intensifying the suffering with each reset. This is why Mob of the Dead means so much to me. The characters are locked in an endless cycle. Their punishment is drawn out through constant suffering. They're left questioning why it keeps happening and why the pain refuses to end. They ask and beg if they need to repent for the things that they did. And what makes it powerful is how directly you can feel that hopelessness. Treyarch managed to bring that pain to life in a way that leaves the story unforgettable, just like they did in the campaign. I also wanted to mention the music in this map, because it plays a huge role in the atmosphere. The soundtrack is heavy and emotional, and at times it's genuinely terrifying. The sound that plays when Brutus spawns in always gives me chills, and it ties perfectly into the horror that defines Mob of the Dead. Treyarch's use of music and sound design makes the whole experience feel even darker, amplifying the weight of the cycle. The round change music in Mob of the Dead is genuinely creepy. A soft piano plays in the background that's faint and melancholy, and it changes the entire mood between rounds. Most maps have their own round changing variation that ties into the setting, with Mob of the Dead being no different. It slows everything down and forces you to sit with the situation you're trapped in. It's almost like the game wants you to reflect on the cycle you're caught in. Every time it plays, it adds to the feeling that you're truly in hell. Some of the tracks go beyond heavy tones and bring in sounds that feel almost otherworldly. You can hear whispering in the background, faint voices that never fully form words, and even these deep guttural noises that resemble Mongolian throat singing. These types of sounds unsettle you on a level that you can't really quite explain. It makes the map feel haunted, like the walls themselves are alive with the echoes of the dead and suffering. I also love the music that plays when you board the plane and take off, because it gives you the feeling that you might be able to escape. The music starts off joyous, like a song that you would hear at the end of a movie where everyone lives happily ever after, but it abruptly changes to something more confusing and fearful as you crash into the bridge. This then leads into one of my favorite pieces of music in all of Call of Duty, which plays once you reach the bridge. It's a track that I'm playing in the background right now, and it takes an already powerful moment where the characters are questioning their suffering and existence and makes it even heavier. The music adds so much emotion and burden that you can truly feel the gravity of the situation and how hopeless it is. Every time I hear it, my heart sinks. I also want to bring up the characters' voice lines. I was digging through them when researching this video, and I found some that I couldn't believe. Now I'm assuming that most of these voice lines didn't make the final cut of the game, because I've never heard them until I stumbled upon these videos. I'll put a link in the description to these videos. Some of these voice lines have the characters talking to themselves, trying to reassure themselves in a super soft tone, but forced to accept that they're horrible people. I'll play a few here.
You ought to just accept what you are, Billy. A monster. You always seem like such a sweet boy, Billy. Losing your mother must have been so hard for you. So young. So beautiful. She was an actress, Finn. Saying things she didn't mean was a way of life to her. She never loved you. She was only interested in what you could do for her.
There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. You know there's only one way this is gonna end, Al. Poor Weasel.
They sound a lot like children who just got punished by their parents, having to deal with the consequences of their actions. And I actually really like that, because it almost feels like that their maturity is being compared to that of a child, which is a far cry from the ruthless killers that were generally perceived throughout the story. From the setting, to the celebrity cast of characters, the story, the weapons, and everything the map brings together, Mob of the Dead has always stood out as one of the best zombies maps of all time. But what makes it stick out with me though, is the moral weight it carries. This is a story about punishment, about being trapped in a cycle that never ends. Every part reinforces that suffering, and by the time the loop pulls you back to the start, you can feel the hopelessness right alongside the characters. Black Ops 2 carries themes of suffering across its modes, and none of them miss the mark. The emotional weight you feel after experiencing the story firsthand is far different from the Call of Duty we see today, but it shows how much Treyarch once got right. Mob of the Dead is proof of that, and it remains one of their best creations. This is why Mob of the Dead will always remain one of the greatest experiences Call of Duty has ever created.